Today's Tech Talk is about understanding iPhone settings. I can't physically come out and reach your iPhone uh, as I would do in a live class, but I can show you what I'm doing on my iPhone and help you understand a little bit about what the settings app does. And there's a few important ones I want to cover. And then there's a lot of other ones that may cause some frustration or challenges or be annoying. But I just want you to start to learn to explore the settings that are available and not be afraid of the settings in your iPhone as we go through things. The goal today is just to help you get into settings on your iPhone and explore a little bit and not be afraid of them. Let me go into settings. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share my iPhone screen. Now, for those of you that have an iPad, the only difference between some of the settings on iPhones and iPads has to do with the specific hardware. A phone has a cellular connection, and so there might be settings for your cell phone connection on a phone that might not be on your iPad. And the iPad also has a larger screen so that it displays things in two columns. So I'm going to set up my screen share here. I'm going to tap on the settings icon here. And we're going to be spending most of our time in here, but I might go back to the home screen to show you how some things look on the home screen, because settings affects how your phone behaves. Your phone is a computer. It's just not a phone. It's actually a very powerful computer, and chances are it's probably powerful than a lot of laptops and desktops we have out there, because Apple makes the chip that goes into the phones, and they make the technology that integrates with the graphics and the screen and other technology, and they make it extremely fast. And every time they come out with a new generation of phone, they come up with something new. Now, there's a status of your phone called locked and the status of your phone called unlocked. Okay, when you can see the icons on your screen like this, your phone is unlocked. When your phone is locked, you have to use your face or use your passcode or touch the home button, depending on the model you have, to unlock your phone and use it. Your phone will automatically lock depending on the setting you have for auto lock. So that's a setting that exists in auto lock that's possible to control. There are a couple of settings that are valuable to know about, some that are really important, and some that are just personal preference. And that's really what they're there for, but they give you the ability to control a lot of things about your phone. All of these other icons on my screen are just apps. And I have some apps grouped because I have a lot of apps on my phone. I've got some emails here that I've got that are coming in, and hopefully we aren't seeing anybody that's struggling to get into the meeting. Let me just check and see if we've got in a few. I think we're okay. All right. And then what we're going to be looking at is settings. Settings is a very, very rich application because it controls the operating system and the functions that Apple gives you on your iPhone. So let me tap on settings, and you can follow along if you want to. Okay, I'm tapping on settings. One of the most important settings is to make sure that you back up your phone. Now, as you can see in the settings function, it says settings right on top. So if you ever open up your screen and it says settings, that's exactly where you are. There's no back button. There's no way to get out of this other than if I press the home button or I swipe up, depending on the model of phone you have. Some phones don't have a home button. Some iPads don't have it, so that you might have to do that. In the setting that says Apple ID, iCloud, iTunes, and App Store, this is information about you and your Apple ID. I just want to show you one setting, and we covered it last week in iCloud, but for those of you that were there, it's a review. What we're going to look at is none of this information. I want to look at iCloud because I want to make sure I am backing up my phone. And Apple gives you the ability to back up your phone to iCloud so that you are able to use it in a fashion that allows you to not worry about losing it, dropping it, having it damaged in any way. So that's an important aspect. So if I tap on iCloud here, I see a lot of things. I see the amount of storage I'm using in iCloud. I don't care about that right now. What I want to look at is I want to look at iCloud backup right here. And iCloud backup, fortunately for me, it's on. There's a little arrow here. Whenever you see an arrow on one of these menu items, these are menu items. You can see they're separated by a little line here. So each item has a specific function, and this has to do with iCloud backup. So I want to make sure it's on, and if it wasn't on, I could change it to on. On is green. This is a little switch, and I can just tap and turn it on or off. I'm not going to turn mine off because I want to leave it alone. So it tells me that I'm automatically backing up my data. So if my phone gets lost or damaged, or if I want to upgrade my phone, all I have to do is go to the store, get a new phone, get a replacement, and I can set up iCloud in my iCloud settings and log in with my Apple ID, which is my username and password, and my phone will be restored to almost exactly the way it was when I gave it up. Okay? So those are some things to do with iCloud that are good functions to handle. And so that's the function of backing up. Let's take a look at what it says here, okay? It says it automatically backs up data and settings when this phone is connected to power. So yeah, you have to be backed up. You have to be connected to power, which means you have to have a power cable, connected up to it and using it. You have to be on Wi-Fi. So you can't back up just when you're on cellular. You have to be on a Wi-Fi network. And your phone has to be locked, which means it has to be, the screen has to be blank, okay? And then it will do an automatic backup, but you can always tap backup now if you ever want to do it. But mine was backed up yesterday at 10:47 p.m., so it did okay. Part of learning any new piece of technology is getting comfortable understanding how you navigate around it. The computer you probably spent most of your life with was probably a Windows PC. And your iPhone and iPad are computers. They're not just phones. They can do a lot of things. They can process a lot of information. They have a lot of technology built into them. They even have things like barometers so that you can tell the altitude, which you would say, why would I need that? Well, if you're using a cooking app and you want to know how much time to bake something in an oven in Colorado versus here in Seal Beach, you would know that, and it would help you out in adjusting the time automatically. And obviously hikers and other people use it for those things too. Now, when I'm looking at backup here, you can see I have an iCloud button in blue. This is actually a button, and it has an arrow telling me that I can go back. These arrows help you understand sometimes how to navigate screens. Not all screens have them, but in settings, they're there so that I know I can go back to iCloud, and I'm still on iCloud here now. I can go back to my Apple ID and then go to the main settings screen one more time, and I'm in settings. Okay, so there's no more backup anymore. So that's the way you can go forward and you can go back. But if you don't see a back, that means there is no back. So don't worry about it, okay? Now, one of the really good options to work with here is a setting called General. General will tell you a lot of things. There's a lot of settings. And so any setting you look at will adjust something in the way your iPhone works. It tells me I'm on Wi-Fi and I'm on my home network. I renamed my network so that I know it's me. I have Bluetooth on. Bluetooth is a network that connects devices together like your hands-free car calling. I have the ability to adjust my cellular settings if I want to, and I do have the ability to set up what's called a personal hotspot. If I'm ever in a situation where I don't have Wi-Fi and maybe I have my laptop with me or my iPad with me and I want to get on the internet with that, and I don't have a Wi-Fi signal, I can turn my phone into a hotspot and piggyback by connecting my laptop to my phone, and my phone is connected to a cellular network. So that gets me on the internet. So just a little trick if you ever run into a problem with that, okay? Now, the general setting down here is something that basically gives you the ability to manage a lot of information and look at it and review it. Okay, so let's look at general. I'm going to tap on general. There was an arrow going to the right, and it shows me a lot of things here. It shows about, software update, iPhone storage. These are things that were typically very common on iPhones for people to manage and use, but people have expanded a lot of settings. Apple expanded so many settings that they've moved a lot of them around. And every time they come out with a new operating system, which is typically in the fall of the year, they come out with a major release of a new operating system. They move a few things around. So sometimes things that are where you used to find them are in a different place. So we don't know what's going to move around, but typically they try and keep them in the same place, but every so often they surprise us and we have to find a few things. The software update is something to pay attention to because Apple gives you free software updates. And software updates give you the ability to update your operating system from Apple. And it's generally recommended by Apple that you update to the latest operating system. They include security updates, they include performance updates, they include other types of updates, sometimes new apps and support for new hardware. And occasionally they throw in something accidentally that's called a bug. In the software industry, bugs are things that software developers don't want, but they don't always have a way to test everything out. And in the latest version of the software that Apple released, a lot of people started noticing that their batteries started draining really fast during the day. And so Apple is pretty good about getting updates out and fixing those things within a few weeks. So nobody really worries about it too much. They get reports back from people automatically on what's going on. But in general, the advice that Apple and most people will give you is that you should update to the latest version. So you can see on software update, I've got an arrow here. So I'll tap that, and I have automatic updates is on. That means the iPhone will automatically install updates for me. And it tells me that I am at iOS 13.5.1. And my software is up to date. There is no other update I need to worry about, which is good. It means it's automatically happening. I don't have to do anything. It typically does it when the phone is asleep at night and updates when the phone is locked, just like it would do it during a backup. But that's one thing. If you have not updated in a long time, you may have some things that may not work. And Apple has a tendency to drop updates for older models of phones. So the older your phone is, the older your iPad is, the more likely it may run into a situation where you cannot update to the latest software. So software version 13.5.1 may be out, but your device may be too old if it's more than about 6 years old. Usually they'll support it, but it'll update to the latest version possible. So where does it become an issue? Well, if you're using an iPhone and an iPad, or an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac, and using multiple Apple products together, it's really, really important to make sure that they're all up to date on the latest version. Okay, and that's the important thing about that. And you want to make sure that you are up to date, because Apple makes sure that those are all supported. Okay, I'm going to go back to general here. You can see my screen, and I'm going to go back to general, and I'm going to click on about. About is about your device. Okay, so about tells you everything you want to know about it. I gave it a name, Bob's iPhone. If you ever want to change the name of your phone, you can just tap on the caret and do that. It tells me the software version. This is one of my favorite pieces of information that Apple has started including in settings, is the model name. They never did that for a long time, and it was always a little mystery to figure out what model of iPhone you had. Now they tell you right in the model name, what you've got. I've got an iPhone XR. Okay, we're at iPhone 11. They're going to be introducing iPhone 12 probably. It tells me the model number. That's more for service. The serial number for service. It tells me I have Apple Care Plus. I take out a contract with Apple called Apple Care Plus that extends my phone and physical support for 2 years. Normally you get 90 days telephone support and 1 year hardware support. And they give you unlimited calls if you need them. And it tells me that my Apple Care Plus plan expires January 17th, 2021. Okay, so that gives you the ability to get support from Apple on anything related to your phone and anything related to an Apple technology on your phone. Now that means they won't help you with Microsoft Office or Microsoft 365, but they will help you with Apple issues on your phone, anything that has to do with that. And it tells you also underneath Apple Care how many songs, videos, photos, and applications you have on your device, because those are the things that take up most of the physical memory in your hardware. In your hardware, you've got a capacity. That tells you how many gigabytes of storage you have in your physical phone, and it tells you how much is available for you to use for other things. I think the standard model now have 64 gigabytes of memory, and so sometimes that's enough for people, but you can see a lot of photos, a lot of videos, a lot of songs, and a lot of applications, and those are the things that take up memory. Things like text messages and email don't. So that's just helpful. The other stuff is not really important to worry about in general, okay? Unless you're switching from like AT&T to Spectrum or something like that. Then they'll tell you what you need to know. So I'm going to go back to general here, okay? And I'm going to go back to settings. And let me double check my handout here to see if I've got a sequence of things. Okay, maybe you're in a situation where you do not want to be disturbed. Well, there's a setting for that on your iPhone. It's called Do Not Disturb. I went back to the main settings screen, and this is a setting called Do Not Disturb. Well, I don't know if you knew it or not, but that setting is built into your phone. It's already there. So if I tap on Do Not Disturb, there's a couple of options that come up. Oh my gosh, what do these mean? Okay, I can turn on Do Not Disturb right now if I wanted to. And that means that my phone will not ring, and it will, but it will vibrate. But it silences anything. So if I'm in a meeting with someone, or if I just want some quiet time, I can do that. But the automatic function is called scheduled. So there's a time frame. Apple doesn't know exactly when you go to sleep, but they offer a standard setting of 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. as a do not disturb. That means your phone won't ring. You won't get dings from text messages or other things, so it's not going to make any sounds from this time. And if you want to change that time, you can by just tapping it, because you can see this little arrow here that points to more information, and we can just change the setting. Now the from is highlighted here, and I can use the scroll bar here. This is like a rotating dial, like a combination lock, and I can just scroll up or down. You can't see my finger, obviously, but if you tap on that and hold it and move it up or down, you can adjust the time that you want to have your do not disturb setting set for. Okay. Just a simple tip for you for do not disturb. There's another way to get into do not disturb, but we're not going to cover that today. Okay. So that's do not disturb. All right. So what else have we got available here that we can look at? Right. So let's talk about text size. Do you know, I don't know, some of you have text size adjusted. Under display and brightness, you have the ability to do a couple of things. Let me tap on, so I'm under settings, I can see that on top, and then under display and brightness. So if I go to display and brightness, I have a couple of settings here that are available for me to look at, okay? Under appearance now, they have this light mode, that's standard, and then they have dark mode. If I tap dark, you'll see my screen changes to a black background. Right now, I tend to prefer light for the most part, but whenever your screen is lit up, it uses up a little more battery power. So that white light takes a little more battery power, and using a dark screen sometimes preserves the life of a battery charge through a day. I don't tend to have that problem. You can change it to automatic. And with automatic, it'll change to light until sunset. It'll automatically detect when it's sunset, and then it'll change to a dark screen. But the main thing is here under brightness. Under brightness, you can adjust that setting and make your phone dimmer or brighter. Now, you're not going to see it on the Zoom screen, but if you adjust it on your phone, you'll see the brightness of your screen change. And if you ever are having a problem where you seem to run out of a battery charge during a day and you can't get to a charger, then using that brightness setting is helpful as well. Now, one of the settings that True Tone basically automatically adjusts the brightness based on how much light it senses is in the area. So if you walk into a darker room or you walk into a bright area, it'll automatically adjust. So that's generally left on. One of the things here, oh, it is down here. Okay, so sometimes you have to scroll. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my thumb or finger and I'm just scrolling up and down the screen, because these are settings that sometimes are out of view. Okay, so auto lock. Auto lock is a handy setting depending on how you like to work. On a phone and an iPad, they're a little different, because an iPad is a bigger piece of hardware, but an iPad's a bigger piece of hardware and has a bigger battery. And so the auto lock settings are different on an iPad. Generally, for all iPads, the battery will last about 9 hours. On phones, you've got a smaller device and a smaller battery. And one of the big things that Apple and Android and everybody tries to work with is trying to increase the battery life before you have to find a power outlet to plug into. And it's really one of the big challenges of technology, because whoever thought we'd be close to Dick Tracy days, right, where we carry around this electronic device on our wrist that does all these things. So this is up to you, okay? I do not recommend never, because never means that until your phone will stay awake and the screen will stay lit up until you manually put it to sleep. There's a power button, a physical power button on the side of your phone. Typically it's on the right-hand side, on the side here. Some of the older models have it on top here, but unless you physically tap that button, your phone will stay awake. and unlocked forever until it runs out of a battery charge. So you'll drain your battery. Now, it doesn't lose any information, but you got to find a power outlet to plug into. If you are running out of battery fast during a day, some people prefer to set it to a really short time, because that means if you don't do anything, if you just let your phone sit on a desk or sit in your car, in 30 seconds, it's going to automatically lock. And some people prefer doing it that way. My personal preference is about 2 minutes. It gives me enough time where if I change my mind or I want to do something, so I don't always have to unlock my phone all the time. But my model, the iPhone XR, also has facial recognition. But guess what? It doesn't work when you're wearing a mask. And so when you're wearing a mask, you have to manually enter your passcode, right? I haven't tried it. That's one of the experiments I'm going to try setting up to see if it will recognize my face with a mask on, but I don't think it will. But that means that if I am out walking and I let my phone go to sleep and auto locks in 2 minutes, I've got to tap it, wake up the screen, and then enter my passcode. That's all auto lock does, is it just determines how long your phone stays unlocked before it automatically locks. And that helps preserve the length of time you've got a battery, okay? I'm going to change it from never back to 2 minutes after we're done with our meeting today. So that's what I will do, but I never recommend people change it never, because if you accidentally forget it, you're going to run out of power really fast, and you're going to forget, what did I do? And then you're going to blame it on me, and I don't want you to do that, okay? I don't want you to get in trouble. Okay, so I'm going to go back. Raise to wake is something that some people find really convenient. I don't use it, but that means when you lift up your phone, it wakes it up, okay? And that means that your screen will be lit up. I don't have a problem just tapping the screen on my phone. And so I never use raise to wake, but sometimes that's a setting that people have on. It's kind of a personal preference. Text size is a way you can adjust the size of text. Here's the thing about text size. Not every app on your phone will be impacted by this text size setting. It says apps that support dynamic type will adjust to your preferred reading size below. That means that the app developer, the person that created the app, like Zoom is not Apple, Zoom created an app, or Microsoft, they create an app, or Google, they create an app, or QuickBooks or whatever, they create an app. If their app supports dynamic type, this will control the setting of the text size. So most of the time you're using Apple apps, but sometimes you might be using, so if you use mail or messaging, but for example, on some messaging apps, don't use dynamic type. So it's not a problem with your device. It's just a matter of whether the app supports dynamic type. Now, the nice thing about this screen is that as you slide this button or tap this button to different sizes, it shows you what the text is going to look like on your screen. So here's the smallest for people that have really good vision. I'm about here. I think the standard is somewhere here. But as you make it bigger, you lose information on the screen, because remember, the screen's really, really small. And so you might see that it's a little bit different at times. So when you adjust, that's text size. So that's a really convenient feature. Just adjust it where it's comfortable. If you ever want to go back to change it again, remember it's in settings, display, and brightness, and it's in text size. Bold text. You can automatically make all the text on your device bold, but it requires a restart of your phone. And so I'm not going to do that now, but that means that your text, it's just like any other font selection. So all of these fonts, instead of being a standard or normal font, they would be all in bold. So everything that it can do, it will make in bold. Sometimes it makes it easier to read. The view is a little bit different. Sometimes they supply a little bit of animation here. So this is the standard display, And that means that I can see more messages, more app icons, more information. But if you look at zoomed here, everything's zoomed in a little bit. It's just a little bit of magnification for everything on the screen that's automatic. So if you prefer that, and that may help you out as much as adjusting the text size. It may be all you need to it. There's a lot of settings. These are just some common settings that are available. So you can see that on the standard view, there's only the small messages appear, but on the zoom view, the messages are larger, but you don't see as many of them. So it tries to show you a comparison of what you're going to see between one or the other. Maybe it's not enough difference, but since that iPhone screen is so small physically, it may make a difference in terms of what you want to see. Most people, if their vision supports it, they want to see as much information on the screen as they can. Those are some quick settings in display and brightness. Amazing what you can do to customize your phone, isn't it? So thank you for coming today.